love that introduction by Danny Koch. He does work for so many different people. I just said his name wrong. I can't believe I did that. Danny Koch, my apologies. That introduction is just so beautiful. And I'm so grateful for him and for the work that he's doing, not just for us, but he's doing music also for lots of different games. He's done trailer music. I'm just so grateful for him putting that together for us. I'm just so grateful. In this place this morning, we want to say thank you to you being here. And I'm just so grateful that you are here for the time that you are taking for what you're going to learn today. We're going to start a little bit differently today. We're going to start by talking about Glass Arts Collective. We are so grateful. I'm using that word a lot this morning. I'm hearing it too. But my heart is expanded this morning. And that space this morning is one of gratitude. Gratitude for them, for what they are doing, for how they are helping people who don't think that they have any artistic abilities to be able to come in and create incredible things with glass. Additionally, they have a side where you can go shopping for things. And that's one of the places that I go shopping for gifts, because they have such an incredible assortment of different things and they package things incredibly well. So grateful for Glass Arts Collective. This morning, we're going to have Christy Jones come and join us. And Christy is no stranger to us. Christy, we are thrilled that you are here with us this morning. We're going to talk about something very close and dear to your heart, HeartMath and resilience, and how this is so impactful. You've seen it impactful for the thousands of students that you have worked with. You work also with parents, grandparents, and helping them with their children. As the children are learning, others are learning as well. We welcome you, and we just would love for you to share a bit of how you came into the world of HeartMath and this incredible work of resilience.
Absolutely. Well, good morning. So always delightful to be here together and to get to just see what emerges in our time. And so HeartMath, if you're not familiar with it, HeartMath Institute is actually a nonprofit organization that has been studying the science of the heart for over 30 years. And their science is phenomenal. I'd totally check it out, because what they discovered is that it's really our heart, right? Our heart brain that is sending most of the information to our head brain. So often we think our brain and our head is controlling everything. But what they have discovered is that by becoming more aware of our heart, right, slowing down our breath and regulating our heart rhythm, that we can become more focused, more energized, more creative. And so when we're feeling moments of stress or frustration or irritation, that tuning into our heart and literally slowing down our breath can bring us back into that place, back into a rhythm, what they call heart-brain coherence. So their goal is really to give people those tools to be more resilient, to live more in balance and harmony, and not just for us individually, but for organizations, for schools, and their biggest mission is global coherence, that we can spread this across the world. And I hope that in our time today, we're getting to spread that message. And yes, all the tools that they have are so simple. So I think we might play a little bit today.
Let's do it.
And have some fun and feel good.
I absolutely love that. As our audience knows, that every single episode has tools or tips or techniques or things that help us when we are going through things that feel a little bit hard sometimes. And yes, we celebrate when we get through those places. But what I so appreciate about what you have taught me with HeartMath is that what you start off by saying is that our heart mind is actually what's governing. Exactly. So there are things that we can do in order to slow down our heart rate, even though we may feel like things aren't going the way we want them to. We can slow down our heart rate. And would you be willing to lead us in one of those sometime during our time today?
Well, I think we might as well just start out. I always like in my sessions that we start with this so we can get coherent at the beginning. And what's wonderful, no matter where you're listening, if you're driving, if you're not able to close your eyes, that's okay. You can do this eyes open, eyes closed. I think it would be fun to share one of the practices that I bring to my younger kiddos. It's one of my favorite ones, and it's for all ages.
Oh.
First, I would like to invite us to think about, how do you feel when you're outside and you feel the sunshine on your skin?
My word is nourished. Another word is alive.
Yeah. Yeah. And so for each of you listening, what does it feel when you're outside and you just feel those rays of the sun? Sarah is saying nourished and alive, just like a little warmth, like the sun is just warming our skin, and it just feels so good. You might feel a little bit more energized.
Yes.
So what we're going to do today is called heart shine breathing. And so I'm going to invite you to bring in that feeling that you have when you're outside in nature, when the sun is shining on you.
Yes.
And so if you're in a place that you can close your eyes, beautiful. And if not, keep your eyes opened. But what I'd like to do first is just rub your hands. Let's get our hands warm.
Lovely. And Christy, as you're doing this, I'm going to actually give you the full stage so that everybody can watch you really clearly as we do that. Is that a good plan?
If you would like to.
Yes. I'm still here. I'm not going away. Okay. But let's do that for this heart shine so they can see you so easily.
So rubbing your hands, getting your hands nice and warm. I think our hands are probably warm by now. So I just invite you to put your hand on your heart center. Close your eyes. And let's take a breath into our heart center. We're going to imagine we're breathing in and out of our heart. And imagine that your heart is warm like the sun. And just breathing in to your heart. Imagine you're breathing in and out of your heart. Feeling that warmth of the sun in your heart. And as you're just slowing down your breath a little bit, finding a comfortable, easy rhythm for you. See if you can feel that warmth of the sun radiating through your whole entire body. Beautiful job. So as you're breathing in and out and feeling that sunshine in your heart and letting it radiate through your body, I invite you to think of somebody or something that makes your heart just fill with care, gratitude, love. It might be, somebody in your family. Maybe it's a best friend. Maybe it's a pet. Just bring that person or animal to mind and notice what feeling emerges. Just expanding that in your heart. Or maybe it's a favorite place, being at the beach, being in the mountains. Next, I invite you to take this nourishing feeling from your heart and just send it like the rays of the sun to anybody that comes to mind. If it's your family, if it's your children, if it's your grandchildren. Just sending this care, sending this love, sending this sunshine to them. If you'd like to open it up to sending it to the whole world, to all people, that they may feel cared for and loved, and that this sunshine may touch their hearts too. Just taking another breath in and out. And then just notice. What do you notice, Sarah?
I have tears in my eyes for how grateful I am this morning. And I'm just overwhelmed by that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's really amazing that when we can slow down and connect to our hearts and just invite that our heart has wisdom, right? We have three brains. We've talked about this in past, talks before.
Yes.
We have our head brain, our thinking brain. We have our heart brain, our emotional brain. And then we have our gut brain, which is our intuitive brain. Yeah. And what's interesting is it's really the heart that receives the information first. And it's sending it up to our head brain, and our head brain is sending it down to our gut brain.
And
And
this is researched. They have
Mhm.
shown this over and over again, incredibly with research. Because at the beginning, I have to tell you, Christy, I was a little skeptical about this. And then looked at the research, and we're going to share some slides later on as well. It's going to show a little bit more information, but
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. Now that I've been living inside of this and working with this concept for a while now, I'm like, absolutely. I see my
Mhm.
own experiences validate what I saw in the research.
Yeah,
Heart first.
really is. And I found out about HeartMath about 10 years ago and was fascinated that we can actually change our emotional state by focusing and slowing down our breath, right?
Right.
And being able to bring this, the youngest children I work with are 4. I work with TK, and they take to this so easily,
Yes.
of that connection to their heart and being able to send that care to, the people that they care about and to their whole school. It's come so natural to children, and the more we can reinforce that and
Yes.
help them keep that connection,
Mhm.
it's such a beautiful gift for them and for us.
Christy, when I first met you, I was still in the classroom, and we were teachers. We were invited on a work day to come in. Kids were at home for the day. We were invited to come in and learn different practices, different ways of helping our kids, helping them with their emotions, helping them with things that were happening at home, helping them perhaps if they were triggered when they heard sirens, just helping them to feel more inside of themselves, feel more comfortable. And the teachers who took your work and then also reinforced it in the classroom as you were also working in the classroom, those that reinforced it, when I, as an itinerant teacher, would go into those classrooms, it was remarkable the difference that was there. Such a sense of community, a sense of caring. The energy in the room was at a high level for creativity and learning, but it wasn't at a high level for negative emotions. And if somebody was beginning to show that they were not feeling so well, that they were getting frustrated, that it wasn't just the teacher who was in the room who was saying, "Hey, I see, let's work on some things." The kids around them would also be talking to them about, "Are you using your tools? Are you doing your deep breathing? You've got this." They were doing things that are so helpful. And so I have seen this firsthand in so many ways of the beauty of what you teach and the efficacy of it, how it impacts people's lives for good. So continue on, friend.
Absolutely. And it really is what I have found is, I am so grateful I get to be in the classroom with children. However, they benefit so much more if the adults in their life have these tools too. And
Yes.
that's why I work with families
Yes.
so that the adults have it. And I remember when my children were really struggling before I had a toolbox in my own life. My son was really shut down, depression. My husband and I had separated, and my kids were going through a lot, and my daughter high anxiety. And I went to see a therapist, and he said, if you want to help your children, the number one thing you can do is take care of yourself.
Yes.
And so, I just took that on, that if I take care of my emotional state, that I will be able to empower my children.
Yes.
And so I did. And that's how I started building the toolbox that I have, that I teach children, but also teach, parents, teachers, right? Grandparents, aunts, uncles, anybody that works with children. Because so often we're concerned about the children's well-being. And if we're in a state of worry, right, and we get that, we all have an energy field around us.
Right.
And we are radiating into our own field, and we're connected to each other's field. Those children are feeling our worry.
They are.
They're actually absorbing our concern. So being able to really be aware of, what am I feeling? How am I caring for my own energy? So I guess that's my message today. And maybe we can talk about that, is really being aware of caring for our own energy, building our own resilience, so that we can then be a support to the people we care about, whether it's children or we have an aging parent. We all have people in our life that depend on us.
Yes.
And the more that we feel good in our own body, in our own energy field. And I really feel like one of the most important skills we can all be developing, even though we have a toolbox, is building resilience.
Yes.
And I love the definition of resilience from HeartMath, because to me, it gives them a roadmap of how we can actually build resilience. So, can I share that definition of resilience?
Absolutely. And I think that there's a possibility that I'm on slide 4. There we go. Here's slide number 1.
Yes.
Ready.
So this is the definition from HeartMath. And I'm just going to read it. And I invite everyone to just see how this feels in your body when you hear this. That resilience is the capacity to prepare for, recover from, and adapt in the face of stress, challenge, or adversity. So when we look at capacity, it's actually our energetic capacity, our energy capacity, right? And so our capacity is how much can we hold, right? Like if you're filling up a pitcher of water, like how much water can that pitcher hold? We're looking at how much energy, what is our energy capacity to prepare for? And if we think about our day, just stepping into our day today, what is it that we need to prepare for? Is it going to work? Is it, caring for our children? Is it going on a job interview? Is it, our children that have a soccer game today and they're getting ready to play the most challenging team, right? How can we help them prepare for going to school? Help them prepare for playing that soccer game, so that they are balanced emotionally. They feel ready mentally, physically, emotionally, right? And then what can we do when something does show up, right? We get a flat tire, somebody cuts us off on the road, we get a phone call we weren't expecting. What can we do in that time? And then how can we recover from at the end of the day or after that soccer game? I remember my brother, when he would play football, if he lost, he would be in such a bad mood for a couple of days. He didn't have that ability to emotionally regulate. 14 years old, it meant the world. And everybody felt his mood. So our children having tools to be able to handle things when things don't go their way.
Yes.
Same thing for us. How do we act when things don't go our way?
Right.
And so that's where these tools come in, that we're really looking at building our own, battery and becoming aware of where are we draining ourselves?
Yes.
What are the things, the stressors in our life that drain us? And then what are the things that help us recharge? Yeah.
And I know that for you, you've talked about this in previous episodes, also being outside in nature, being in the sun, how important that is to help us. And I'm loving watching the sunrise reflected on the building behind you. It's absolutely glowing and beautiful. And I'm so glad that that we can see that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. And I know we're going to get all the sounds of the gardeners blowing the leaves and the sirens going by, being that, we are in California and there are still fires going right now. But to me, that ability, one of the reasons I'm just going to point out that when we are on technology, we know that we're being exposed to blue light.
Yes.
But when we can take our technology outside, and we're, outside right now, it is morning. So all the spectrums of light, that early morning sunshine is so beautiful for helping us make melatonin to sleep at night, to helping to balance our hormones. So the more we can be outside on technology, we're also really caring for our energy. So we're not only using the HeartMath tools to care for and nourish our energy, but knowing that nature, our connection to the earth, is one of the most powerful ways that we take care of our energy. And it's an invitation to all of you friends to see how can you spend more time in nature, outside, especially when you're on technology.
Especially, yes. And I love that even Apple understands this, because I have options on my phone to be able to say, hey, during these hours, I want the light to be turned down in a way that won't, if I happen to check my messages, if I were to get up and do that in the middle of the night, it won't wake me up, won't stimulate my brain. So we have, they are also recognizing that and help putting in helpful pieces for us.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right about in the Reiki world, when we talk about if you're going to have a hard conversation, have it outside, because the wind is there, the sun is there, nature is always growing and moving and doing its natural cycles. And so just get out there to have the hard conversation if possible, because that will help as you are processing through. And
Absolutely.
so, walking.
I love that you're sharing that, Sarah, because we know that blue light and artificial light, LED lights, fluorescent lights, that actually dumbs us down.
Yeah.
And so I was listening to Jack Cruz the other day, and he said, if you want to be more creative, get outside.
Right.
If you're needing a solution, get outside and get near a tree.
And Einstein's solution was to pick up his violin and play. And
Yeah.
I don't recall seeing pictures of him outside playing. When he would come to Palm Springs, he loved climbing the mountains out there and just being by himself. But also then that space of, allow your brain what it needs in order to have the answers flow forward. So good.
Yes, absolutely. And so, having these tools, so this heart shine breathing that we did is actually building our inner energy, our inner battery. So you can, use that practice that we did together, but even just simply slowing down your breath of, I always like putting my hand on my heart. So my focus is there, I feel like then I'm reminding myself to stay focused on my heart, but just eyes open, just taking a breath in and slowing down your breath.
Yes.
And if we can breathe in that rhythm of 5 seconds in and 5 seconds out, that actually puts us in the same energy of the earth. They talk about the earth is breathing, and we call that the Schumann resonance.
Yes.
When we breathe in for 5 and out for 5, we're in that same vibration of the earth. And that was so beautiful.
I find that fascinating because when we relocated, didn't bring our bed with us. And so we went to this big bed store here in town called the Brown Squirrel. And they have a whole history as to why they called it that. But there it is, the Brown Squirrel furniture store. And we tried different beds. And as a musician, I pressed on one of the things and I thought it's going to do 1, 2, 3, 4 in terms of the tapping, right? At my head, 1, 2, 3, 4 at my feet, 1, 2, 3, 4. It didn't. It doesn't. It does 5 at the top and then 5 at the base and then back and forth on 5. They also know the science of helping people to go to sleep by putting in the 5s and the 5s. And as somebody who has done so much work in 4/4, which is when we conduct music, a lot of our music is in 4 beats per measure. And a quarter note gets a beat. That's how the majority of the music is written in the Western world. That it was just so interesting for me because I'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'd do the 5. And I was like, wait a minute, hold on. And so it was also helping me break that and coming into a more of a relaxed state. So yes, fascinating that breathing in for 5 and out for 5 is connecting in with the earth as it breathes as well.
So interesting. And I was realizing, in the school, I have a stick stuck in my breathing ball, and my breathing ball that I use in the schools is I've been aware of that 5-5. I realized that as I've been guiding students to breathe in and then out, I became aware just this week that I was guiding them in the 5-5.
So remarkable.
I was doing that. I was like, wow, I've been doing this without even knowing that I was doing it.
Your heart was leading you the right way.
So in HeartMath, the foundational step is what they call heart-focused breathing, of just bringing your awareness to your heart center and just slowing down your breath, finding an easy, comfortable rhythm for you. So if you're in a meeting and you're starting to feel stress or you're starting to feel frustrated, you don't even need your hand on your heart, or you're talking to your children and you guys are having a disagreement, right? Being able to just slow your breath down. What's happening is that now you're sending a coherent message. We are sending most of the information is going from our heart up to our brain. versus we usually think that it's our brain coming down into our body, into our heart. And so when you can slow down that breath, you're going to keep the information flowing to your brain so your brain can receive it and then send it to the rest of your brain and to your body. So you're able to stay focused. You're able to be more, regulate your emotions so you can have those conversations or be in that situation without getting triggered, right? Or getting frustrated, because once we get into that frustrated state, we will not be able to, that's where we feel flustered with our words, or we say things we regret and we wish we wouldn't have said that. But this can help us stay in that coherent state. It's almost like when we have our cell phone and we have full bars and our phone's fully charged, you're going to send a text message much more clearly. Where if we have no reception, like the message isn't, the brain is not able to send the messages to the rest of the brain and the body because it's all scrambled. Yes. And I think we do have a slide of that too. I think it's, well, can we go to the next one and we'll come back to this one?
Of course. Yes.
Tell me, like, when you feel frustrated or irritated, if you look on the left side of the screen and you see that jagged, right? So this is a picture of our heart rhythm. So when we feel frustrated, irritated, angry, right? We can feel our heart like just beating so fast. And they call it that this is incoherent. So then the information going to the brain, the message can't get through. And so that's where we will say things we regret. We will do things we regret. We will, sometimes we, like our movements we might trip or fall because we're not coherent.
The heart rate variability. So our heart rate does have a variability. If you check your heart rate in the morning before you go to bed, it's going to feel different than if you check it after you work out. So we know that our heart rate has a variability to it.
Yes.
And the one on the left side that's in red to me looks erratic. And that's when, as you say, behavior can become erratic in those spaces as well.
Yes.
Now, we can catch ourselves and we can do some things to keep it from continuing on. But we do know that there is variability with our heart rate. And so we can do things once we notice that we are triggered or we're upset or frustrated or moving that direction. There are things that we can do so we can move back into what it looks like on the right side in the blue.
Yeah, what is the coherence, right? Where it's our heart and our brain working together as a team, right? They're in sync together. Like if you see rowers rowing, right? They're in sync, that team, they're working together. If they were all doing their own thing, they wouldn't get very far. Right. So it is. And this slide is actually a person that was feeling frustrated. And then they started doing their heart focused breathing of hand on their heart, slowing down their breath, just breathing in.
Yes.
And out at a slow, steady rhythm for them. And then you can see the shift. You can see the difference in their heart rhythm. And so just focusing on your breath will create that, and it's resetting your nervous system. So by slowing down your breath, focusing on your heart, they say, where your attention goes, energy flows. So since our heart is what's actually speaking mostly to our brain, we're putting our awareness on our heart, we're slowing down our breath, and that's going to help our brain function and work optimally. And then we're going to get a coherent message to our body, so our body feels relaxed.
Yes.
And so if we want to add to that and we want to take it to another level and support our body even more, we can bring in a renewing feeling, a regenerative feeling, a nourishing feeling of love, of care, of gratitude. And bringing that in while we're slowing down our breath, right? If you think about just, somebody that you feel grateful for, and who comes to mind, this is just an invitation for us to all just think of like, who or what am I grateful for right now? And you start thinking about that person or that situation. All of a sudden you start feeling that gratitude in your body. That renewing feeling, that feeling of gratitude, when we focus on it, as we're slowing down our breath, we are now stopping the cortisol from flowing through our body.
Remarkable.
We're stopping the stress hormones, and we are now starting to create, the longer we do that, right? If we're just thinking about them for a couple of minutes, right? We are now starting to create DHEA in our body, which is our vitality hormones. So this simple practice, and this is what I love about HeartMath, is that these are simple tools that can be done eyes open, eyes closed, while
Yes.
you're driving, while you're,
Yes.
having a conversation with somebody.
Mhm.
You can notice, right, when you need to regulate your emotional state.
Yes.
And so you're able to, in the moment,
Mhm.
right, in that moment of stress, put a tool in place that you're
Yes.
really nourishing, right? You're
Mhm.
stopping that, you're resetting your nervous system, and
Mhm.
now stopping that stress response, and you're bringing in nourishing,
Yeah.
vitality hormones by focusing on, and for kids, a lot of time it's their pet.
Yes.
They imagine that they're petting their cat or their dog, or they'll
Mhm.
think about, somebody in their family. A lot of times the kids, share a baby brother or baby sister,
Yeah.
and that's where they will go, or their parents or their grandparents,
Sure.
and or their friends, and all of a sudden their energy will shift. And so we
Yes.
can use these same tools for a child
Mhm.
that's starting to feel frustrated, that hand on their heart, right?
Mhm.
To bring in that feeling of sunshine, and then think about someone or something. And all of a sudden it helps them start to regulate their emotions and their
Mhm.
energy changes.
It reminds me of when perhaps you remember her, Kia. She had a French bulldog named Frenchie, and she got him certified so that he could go into the hospital. And she
Mm,
was going down to Children's of Orange County, CHOC, and that they would go, from room to room and just bring such delight. But the science behind that, again, shows that it helps people move into a coherent
mm,
heart rhythm. And so, by having animals come in that are certified, they've done all the things that the noises and the smells aren't going to bother them, is such an incredibly powerful, powerful thing. And
wow.
so, and then not as quickly as impactful for most people, but still impactful is if you happen to have houseplants that
Mm,
you are caring for, and then going and making sure that you're watering and just looking at, you can talk to them if you wish, but just looking at each one of them
yeah.
also is a practice that helps move the heart into more coherence.
Yeah. Yeah. And while we have the slide up, there's a study that Roland McCready, one of the founders of HeartMath, did with his son and his son's dog. And so they actually had the dog, go into the lab.
Mhm.
And first the dog was by himself, and and so they had the son and the dog have a heart rate monitor on. The
Right.
son was in the waiting room. His heart was a little bit more like the red side, right? A little incoherent.
Mhm.
And then he had his son go into the lab with the dog, not even talk to the dog, not look at the dog, but just go into the lab
Yeah.
and to start radiating that feeling of love towards his dog.
Mhm.
And both the dog and the son went into this coherent state together. Just being
Yes.
in the same room with the son, sending that love to his dog.
Yes.
Isn't that I love the science of HeartMath, because they're doing these studies to show that we
Mhm.
can go from frustration, right, to slowing our heart rhythm down and become
Yes.
coherent. That
Yes.
we can generate and send care and love to someone else. They've done this with people as well too, that people in a room, that somebody's starting to generate that
Mhm.
gratitude or care from their heart, that other people in the room, their heart becomes coherent, like the blue side as well too.
Yes.
So, and it really goes to what we're speaking to, that if we can care for our own energy,
Mm.
and we can bring deeper awareness to what we're feeling inside, to
Mhm.
our inner world, and make shifts as needed, we can really support not only our well-being, but we can be that light, right,
Mhm.
and benefit others
Definitely.
around us.
Yes.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
good.
When we look at that, we really want to look at, there's 4 different domains of energy that
Mm.
help us to um, be, self-regulate, being able to be aware of our emotional state.
Yes.
Really, for self-regulation is being in the moment, being able to care
Mhm.
for our 4 energy domains, which, if we look
Mhm.
at the slide right here, is our physical domain. Like, how are we caring for our physical body? Have we been sitting too long? Do we need to get up and move a little bit? Right? Like, how are we caring for ourselves physically? We want to be physically flexible. And if we look at this slide, we're going to see flexibility in all 4 domains: mental, emotional, spiritually, that we need that flexibility that, mentally we want to be able to focus, right? We want to be able to use our mental capacities, right, to support us. And then emotionally, we want to be emotionally flexible. We want to be able to notice, like, are we too rigid? Or do we have a hard time when things don't go our way? That we need more of that flexibility in there.
Yes.
That we can shift and adjust, and stay in a place that we can hear different opinions. We can listen to people. We can, you can throw some other thoughts in there around that too. And then also spiritually, that people, really respect and honor, the different beliefs people have, also being aware of what resonates with us. And the more that we're able to look at and check in, just even a check-in of how am I caring for myself today emotionally?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
How am I caring for myself spiritually? How am I caring for myself mentally and physically? And is there a place that I need more care?
Right.
And what feels good for me to care for myself in that way? So it really is the balance of these 4 that allow us to self-regulate.
Yes.
However, the area, can you guess, Sarah, what area drains us the most, takes most of our energy?
I would think emotional.
You got it, right? Our emotional domain is where we drain most of our energy. And so being aware, that's why that awareness we can bring to, what am I actually feeling right now? What emotion am I in? And we will feel many different emotions throughout the day. If we actually just made a list of, we reflected on our day, we'll realize we go through a lot of emotions in a day, even in an hour, depending on what we're doing. Yes. And we want to create more awareness. Now, some emotions are going to be really renewing to us, like gratitude, appreciation, love.
Yes.
And then there's other ones that are going to be really depleting for us as well, too.
Yes.
And we know that emotions are not right or wrong or good or bad.
Right. Correct.
That they're really letting us know, they're letting us know what's going on internally in our inner world.
They are a signal. We would never say that a stoplight is a bad thing and that we were mad at the stoplight. It's a signal. It's giving us information. And so same thing with our emotions. They are a signal, just giving us information. And then we get to determine what we want to do with that, if anything.
Yeah. And so I love this grid that you made in HeartMath. We have something called a depletion renewal grid. And this is something that Sarah has made for herself as a tool for her. And if we can look at this, the right side are renewing emotions, right? And the left side are going to be depleting emotions. Now, each of us gets to decide what's renewing and what's depleting. Right. Sometimes people feel different things about different emotions. And so then if we get right side is renewing, left side is depleting. Now the top part where it says sympathetic, right? We can have our sympathetic nervous system is more in that, like, our foot is on the gas pedal. We need more energy when we're in a sympathetic state. We can be in a sympathetic state when we're, hiking on a trail, when we're playing tennis. Also, when we have a meeting that we're preparing for and we need a lot of energy, but we can also be in that sympathetic state when we're in like that fight mode of, we're anxious, we're irritated. That's also a sympathetic state.
Yes.
So if you'll notice on this chart, that gray upper left is going to be high energy, draining emotions. Sympathetic is generally. And then we've got so it's going to be like anger, frustration, anxiety, irritation. Those take a lot of energy from us. So they're draining our inner battery. Right? If we're starting to compare ourselves to a battery, like, we know that those are going to be an energy drain. There's nothing wrong with them. They're just letting us know that that's what we're feeling in that moment.
Yes.
The yellow, the brighter yellow is going to be, actually, we can have sympathetic renewing emotions like enthusiasm, excitement. They feel good in our body. Our heart rhythm is going to be coherent, But we also can't stay in enthusiasm all the time, just like we can't always have our foot on the gas pedal. There's times we're going to come to a stop sign. There's times we're going to come to a red light or a yellow light that we need to slow down. So just becoming aware of, that we have renewing sympathetic emotions and we have, depleting sympathetic emotions, but they're all high energy.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
And then on the lower part of the grid, we have low energy depleting emotions that are the parasympathetic. That parasympathetic is more of the rest and digest.
Yes.
Right? So we can, even like sadness or loneliness or fatigue, they are a lower energy, but if they're on the left side, they're draining, right?
Yeah.
We can have on the right side, we can have a low energy renewing emotion like gratitude, appreciation, calm, maybe feeling relaxed, right? And what's wonderful, and this is an invitation for all of us, is that you can take a piece of paper and draw one line going down, one line going across, and then make your own chart of, knowing that upper, what are my high energy draining emotions? What are my low energy draining emotions?
Yes.
And then on the right side, what are my high energy renewing emotions? What are my low energy renewing emotions? And we can check in with ourselves and use this grid anytime to just notice what we're feeling.
Yeah.
And if we did that right now and we just checked in with ourselves of what am I actually feeling in this moment, I do want to let you know that most of the time, I'm feeling more than one emotion.
Yes.
And much of the time, we are in more than one of these squares. We might be really excited for something we're doing today, but we also might be, being in California that we've had intense fires and wind this week. Super grateful and excited to be here on this, spending this time together.
Yes.
And also a deep sadness for friends that have lost their homes and just what it means in our community.
Right. Yes.
So you don't need a fancy grid like we have up here. All you need is a piece of paper. And you can check in with yourself and notice, where am I? Is there something that I need to do to care for myself right now? If I'm noticing I'm on the left side of the grid.
Yeah.
Right.
One of my observations has been when I notice, and I don't necessarily think of the word because it's the emotion, right? So I'm feeling the emotion and I'll go, oh, that's upper left-hand quadrant emotion. And then half a second later, I'm thinking about who or what caused this, whatever is challenging to me in that moment has caused this. And I'm realizing in our conversation today that it's fine to take note. It's just information. But there needs to be a much faster for me move through to, yes, I want to know what value is being challenged. I want to know what goal that I have that's being challenged. What belief I have that's being challenged, because when I'm in the when I'm on the left side, something is being challenged. And so I do want to know that, because then I can decide, is that still a belief or a value or a goal that I still have? Is that still valid for me at this point in my life? Maybe at 8 years old it was, maybe now at this point, maybe not so much. So I do want to kind of run through that. But the place that I want to get to after I have done those things is that I do want to move back into coherence as fast as I can. I want to move back into my heart rate variability, moving to the place that it's super steady again. Yes. And we think about people who are Olympians, and if you watch them when they get on the blocks, when they're getting ready to dive into the pool, watch their behavior and then watch how they do. Those who have been really conscious about slowing their heart rate down are going to be the ones that probably, once they hit the water, are probably going to do better, provided that they've trained and all the other things, right? But it's not just what we do in life. It's not just before we go into a board meeting. It's not just what we do when we go to visit a loved one in the hospital. These are things that we can be doing all of the time when we are baking. And oh my gosh, true story. I put turkey bacon into the oven. We're trying to keep my mom's sodium level higher because it's been super low. And so we were like, oh, what she hasn't been eating recently has been turkey bacon. Processed, I know. Salt, yeah, that's what we're after, is the salt. I put it in, we sit down, we have breakfast. I put in 2 full pans. I'm really going to take care of this today. And this happened a couple of days ago. And I'm just so grateful that when I came after, did breakfast, I washed dishes, I went downstairs, I brushed my teeth, I came back up, and I was like, oh, and someone else had so gratefully taken it all out, put it in the refrigerator, all those things, right? But that could have been, smoky house for a good 6 hours, trying to clear out all of that had it gone to being burned. And so it just is these life things that are showing up, and me just not setting a timer, and so grateful that someone else was in the kitchen and going, oh, I think that these are done. Let's take care of this. So you're right. Feeling more than one, feeling a little bit embarrassed that I had put him in and then just walked away, but also just so grateful and so thankful that, someone else took care of it, and Mom had her turkey bacon this morning again.
Yeah, beautiful. And being able to notice, like, feeling that embarrassment, right? Which is going to be on the left side.
Yes.
And then being also able to realize in that moment, you didn't stay in that embarrassment. Right. That you were able to go, wow, I feel such gratitude that somebody noticed that it was in there.
Yeah.
And, you're so right, Sarah, that the more we can do this, the more that we are able to check in and notice where we're at, and bring, notice we know that the more we notice the good, right? We notice the things that we're grateful for.
Yes.
We're actually building that resilience. You're bringing energy. So you stopped that energy drain. Right. That embarrassment is actually draining our energy. The left side is draining our energy, but you moved over into the regenerative feeling.
Yes.
Right? Which now you're starting to create that DHEA in your body. You're starting to bring in the renewing emotions. You stopped that stress hormone in your body. And so it really takes that awareness, that willingness to notice, where am I right now? Where am I on the grid? What am I feeling inside? And it's such a beautiful thing because we can shift. And the more we do that, right? Even if we're, walking, we're at the park or we're on a walk and noticing the trees, listening to the birds, and just noticing, I'm so grateful for the birds. Like, I'm so grateful that the slight breeze that's blowing, for the sun shining on me, that as we bring that in, and we know that we're actually building more energy in our body. So an invitation is to really notice what energizes you.
So good.
For all of us, is it having a conversation with a friend? Is it making sure we get a good night's sleep, that we feel good? And to just be aware that throughout the day, we want to be nourishing our energy, that we become, when we are draining our energy and we are not replenishing, is when we tend to maybe snap at somebody, when we find ourselves more on the left side of the grid because we're out. So the more we care, the more patient we're going to be with our children, right? The more we're going to be nourishing our own energy. So I hope this message, I guess the message I want to get out is really be intentional for caring for yourself. And self-care doesn't mean that you're going to get a massage, which do that too. But it's taking a minute outside to feel the sunshine. It's noticing what you're grateful for. It's spending time petting your dog or your cat, or giving a little extra hug to your kids or to your spouse or your friend. That these things that nourish our energy. Also, become aware of what are those things that are depleting you, so that when you notice you're there, you can pause and go, okay, let me pause. Let me slow down my breath. Let me bring in a renewing feeling, and that we can shift back into the renewing side. So we're not getting to the end of our day and realizing we've been in stress and anxiety and irritation and been draining ourselves
all day.
Yeah.
The one thing that I'm observing right now is that being in nature, having plants, having indoor plants, being able to cut flowers and bring them inside at will. Those are things that have, from my earliest memories, living at the edge of the rainforest in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Those are things that have always been very renewing for me. And in the relocation, it was so lovely to find homes for my pots and plants and those kinds of things. But also, as soon as we got here, I knew that I was in for several years of doing the building in order to be able to have that. And so I just share this as a self-care practice to other people. You may also have things as you have changed jobs, you have a new office, you have a new whatever. There may be some practices that you know that are very, very healing or regenerative for you that may take some time before you literally see the fruit, or in my case, the flowers for that. And for that to be an okay thing. In the meantime, I found a fabulous ivy that's growing, and I have, parts of it growing around the house inside, and, different containers of water, and just so delighted with what it's doing. And so there are still moments of expansion and happiness and vitality flowing through me, even in a wintertime, even when there's snow outside, even when there are things that, if you are willing to be creative and keep your eyes open and to be listening internally to what's happening for yourself, I think that people can really begin to be open to the possibility of finding new creative ways. And along that line, one thing that happens when you also change jobs or go to a different school to teach, or that you move into being an entrepreneur, you get a chance to look again at what you're packing for yourself for your meals and snacks during the day. And again, that space of, does this now serve me in this time? Or are there things that would be more nourishing for me? I know that we're pre-recording this early in the morning. So because you are going to go out and be working and teaching, that you've already packed your lunch that's going to give you vital energy this afternoon, that's been part of your self-care as well. And that you are sitting outside, not just any place outside, you have the hugel behind you, that you had community come and help you build and put in these incredible flowers. It's pulling in the rain. It's allowing the rain to go deeper. It's sequestering carbon. Your yard is doing incredible work. And you can hear it in the beauty of the birds that every now and then will come and get into the tree above you and have conversations with you, telling you how happy they are. Again, finding places and ways of being able to do something new and different. 10 years ago, you didn't have a hugel in your yard. And yet you kept looking for ways to be able to take the information that you were learning, and how could you apply it? How could you make it be something that was, hard work at the time, but still, it's going to be regenerative for decades in the future. So good.
So beautiful. I feel really grateful too, because Sarah, in your move, you gifted me some of your plants. So every time I'm walking through my house, I think of you. And, it's a reminder for us too, is to just notice those things that we have in our environment.
Yes.
That we look at, and maybe it's a card from a friend, or,
Right.
and just allow those regenerative feelings, allow that appreciation, and know that as we do that, we're actually really caring for our inner energy, our inner battery as well too.
And that just makes me think also that one of the things that we have moved with us has been iris bulbs. That we had, I guess you'd call them bulbs, maybe not. But we've moved them from the house in town that my grandmother had. And that prior to that, they were out on the farm in Nebraska. And so we have moved them several different times, to the point that was before we unpacked anything here in our relocation, that was the first thing that I needed to get into the ground. And we have relocated them since we've gotten here, because we finally got a space that we call the courtyard, that from multiple places in the house, you can look out on this space. And for me, it's the most important place that we keep going, that we do have flowers in it year round, because if you're sitting next to the fireplace, you can see it. If you are in the master bedroom, you can see it. If you are in the basement, there are windows out. That's what you're looking also onto as well. And so it's the place that's, we have pansies in there right now that are putting their little flowers up, and they're saying, we've got this. As soon as it gets a little bit warmer, we promise to shine. But for right now, we're here, we're doing our thing. And again, just the delight for me of being able to go out there and just look at them and see how they're doing, and making sure that they are getting enough water in between the rains and those kinds of things. There's, for me, a factor in there that is about deep soul self-care. It's not necessarily about, does that fit in my day really well? But there is just something about that deeper sense of being in nature and caring for nature. And it's also one of the reasons why we have, for over a decade, been really serious about feeding the birds. And we want them to have a place that they can come and enjoy. And so much so that when we got here, my mom mentioned that a friend of hers had been gifted a heated bird bath for the wintertime.
Wow.
Never considered that. Before this snowstorm came in, we made sure that I completely cleaned it out, rinsed it really well, filled it all the way to the tippy top, because we have so many birds that come in and check it out. And, nobody's bathing right now, but everybody's coming in for water to drink. And it's just so lovely to see that and to be providing that for them. So it's good in so many ways.
I love that that's part of your soul self-care.
Yes. And,
so important. And one of the things that I've learned through HeartMath too is that the more that we're connecting with our heart, our heart has wisdom for us. That they talk about in HeartMath that it is our place of intuition.
Yes.
That we can communicate with our heart. We can ask, and tune in, in any situation. After doing our heart focused breathing, our heart shine breathing, right?
Yes.
Bringing in and just asking our heart, what information do you have? What wisdom do you have for me in this situation? And I truly believe that our heart is a seat of our soul. And that the more we can go within and we can listen to it, that intuitive wisdom, we all have it.
Every person does.
Every single one of us. And the more that we can slow ourselves down and to be present, right? And listen internally and trusting that inner wisdom, like you do, Sarah, of knowing that, caring for those bulbs, making sure those flowers, caring for the birds, right? It's caring for the nature around you, but it's really nourishing your soul.
Yes. Those iris rhizomes are just so important. And when I see them flower, I think of each person that I've gotten them from. When the daffodils come up, I think about the person. All of those people have transitioned. And it's such a joy to be able to every single year annually have that opportunity to see life come again from things that they cared for and loved on as well. Yeah. Christy, we are running the ticker tape across the bottom for how people can get a hold of you, that they can learn about what you are doing at Linktree at Christy Live Healthy. I always want to say live, Christy Live Healthy. And we are just so grateful for you, for your support, for your sponsorship of the show, for you coming and sharing your deep wisdom, for you being somebody who has taken HeartMath, what you know as a Reiki master, what you know as a mom, what you have learned in the dietary world, taking all of those things and just beautifully weaving those pieces together here for us today. Do you have some final wisdom that you'd like to share with us?
I would invite everybody to spend out as much time in nature as you can, even if you're in a cold environment. Cold is very healing for your body too. So wherever you are, right, to spend time and to know that you have that inner wisdom in you. So, being able to, it's an invitation to practice breathing into your heart, slowing it down, doing your heart focused breathing, and just noticing.
Yes.
And if you find this helpful to you,
yes.
right, share it with someone else.
Yes.
The more that we have that ability to slow ourselves down and to regulate our emotions, right, that we have that, it's a superpower that we have. That teach it to your children, your grandchildren, and just bring it out, right? That the more that we can use these simple tools, is just going to make a more coherent, peaceful, beautiful world, right, for all of us.
Thank you so much, Christy. We just appreciate you, have deep gratitude for the work that you are doing and for the lives that you're impacting today. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
And to our audience, we say thank you so much for being with us to the very end, because you always know that there is some type of a blessing or some type of an encouragement that happens in our time at the very end. We are grateful for you, and we do see that you are impacting lives in such profound ways. If you weren't listening to the end, you weren't hearing all the things that were being said for your heart. So thank you for being somebody who is allowing your heart to open to take this information in, for being one of the people who this conversation is going to radically impact your thoughts and how you live your life heart open, heart first. Until next time, take really good care of you. And I'm going to find this for us.